want to talk a little bit about what might be called the dependency lie. This is something that conservatives love to trot out. It was trotted out again this week in Trump's new budget for American greatness, or whatever he calls it. Now, here's what I mean by the dependency lie. I want to start by telling a story. When I was in the fourth grade, a teacher had a disabled person come and talk to us about what it was like living with a disability. It was a woman in a wheelchair. And I'll never forget, because she was not, she didn't coddle us, she didn't talk to us, she talk down to us, she didn't pull her punches. She was kind of scary, to be honest, because she was so direct with us. But I am very grateful to her in retrospect. And I remember one of the things she said to us is that she got very upset when people described her or other disabled people as wheelchair bound. She wanted to be clear that to her, the wheelchair was not something that bound her or constricted her or confined her. It was something that liberated her. I mean, she used words appropriate for fourth graders, but that was the gist of the message. That was the gist of the takeaway. She told us that, if it weren't for the wheelchair, she wouldn't be able to get around and move more than a few feet. So she was enormously grateful that she had that wheelchair. It was something that liberated her. It was something that gave her freedom of movement. It was something that changed the entire course of her life. I never forgot what she told me all those years ago. And the reason why it came to mind recently was in reading Trump's budget and reading some of the justifications for the budget, I came across this term dependency. I mean, here's one example, although there are multiple examples of it in the discourse. The budget cuts payments for people on welfare, people in need, not for the first time in history, by the way, an extremely cruel cut, giving enormous tax cuts to the wealthy, while at the same time cutting benefits for things like welfare. And it says, but it puts it this way: the budget provides a path toward welfare reform, particularly to encourage those individuals dependent on the government to return to the workforce. Now, you see this elsewhere. They describe other forms of benefits to the disabled and so on as a dependency, that somehow there is a dependency on the government and all of this. That's completely wrong. The government, to these people, is like the wheelchair to the woman who came and spoke to my class when I was in the fourth grade. It is an instrument of freedom for them. It is an instrument of assistance for them. When you need help, and help is there for you, that help, you're not dependent on it unless you become weaker. Now, I suppose a wheelchair could be confining if you could walk normally without it. But the fact is that doesn't happen. When people need help, that help is there to assist them. It is there to liberate them. Now, do people ever become quote unquote dependent on government benefits? I think if you believe that that is a thing, that is a common thing, or that the benefits that people receive nowadays are something that create dependency or weakness, I think you really need to go back and look at those benefits, because they are extremely hard to live on. The process by which you obtain those benefits is limiting and degrading. Now, the Trump budget says this budget includes supplemental nutrition assistance program reforms, and I put quotes around that word, reforms, that tighten eligibility and encourage work. So let's think about that for a second. We are still near record low labor force participation rates, even though the top line employment number looks okay. What's more, the jobs that people do have, many people have part-time jobs but want full-time jobs. So there's that measurement to look at. And wages have stagnated for the middle class. What's more, many of the jobs created since the Wall Street-caused financial crisis of 2008 have been low-paying jobs, requiring people to continue to need assistance when they work. This rhetoric of dependency is really the rhetoric of cruelty, and let's make no mistake, we must fight against it.